What an unbelievable game that we had on Monday Night Football. The Colts were up 25-9 at one point, but never count out Lamar Jackson, whether it be on the ground or through the air. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a brand new episode of Time2Football. My name is Hassan Khan, the host of this channel that we like to call Time2Football. Glad that you guys are joining us on this wonderful Tuesday morning. Got the lights set purple to commemorate that amazing victory by the Baltimore Ravens. Hey, Mark Andrews finally had himself a day. I know you guys that own Mark Andrews of Fantasy Football were waiting for that day. I often talk about this, and you probably are tired of me talking about this if you're a loyal viewer. But Mark Andrews, I made a trade. James Robinson, I traded him away for Mark Andrews and Myles Gaskin at a Skillet concert 3 weeks ago. And at that point, I had buyer's remorse because Myles Gaskin wasn't doing anything. Mark Andrews, I mean, he was getting the targets, but he wasn't really doing much. And James Robinson was over here popping off with this Urban Meyer tradition offense, college football tradition. So Urban Tradition Meyer was finally utilizing James Robinson the way that he should be used. And I had buyer's remorse. And then finally, Mark Andrews had this amazing game. And I was like, all right, I'm fine. Mark Andrews had his amazing game. Myles Gaskin has an amazing game. So if you guys that owned Mark Andrews in Fantasy Football, congratulations. If you did pick up that victory, which more than likely you probably did. But today we're going to be talking more about Fantasy Football because it's Tuesday here today, and Tuesdays and Fridays we just talk about Fantasy Football on this channel. So we're going to be giving you a little bit of a preview of the ads and drops that we come out with later on in this channel. So in weeks past on this live stream on Tuesdays, I've showed you the full video. I don't think I can do that just because the graphics and everything, it just takes way too much time. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of a teaser. I'm going to show you 3 players that are on the drop list and 3 players that are on the ad list. And if you want to see all of them, then you have to go and watch the video that's going to come out probably a couple hours after this stream were to end. Hey, we got some people checking in on this video right now. So continue to leave your comments and your thoughts and everything. We've got 12 people tuning in right now. Emerald Eyes 7, Zemi, yep. Got the electric guitar emojis, man. Love it. Love it. Like I said, love hard rock. Love hard rock. That's the theme that I want to get across on the show. But what else do we've got? We've got Daniel Orton. Yeah, okay. So you said Mike Davis is on bye week. I'm guessing that you want some fantasy football help in that aspect. So continue to leave your fantasy football questions because there's going to be a whole dedicated segment later on in the show dedicated to answering viewer questions if you guys are joining us for the very first time on this show. To kick off the show, we've got NFL news and notes around the league that we want to cover. And I think first off, the biggest news is that John Gruden has resigned as the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders after a plethora of emails have been released. I mean, people were talking about how, okay, well, you can't fire him over just one email regarding something that happened in 2011. Well, then since then, a lot of people have gone into an investigation and said, okay, well, no, this is ongoing. This has been happening for the last 10 years or so. The most recent email, actually, right before he became the Raiders head coach. So here's the thing. On this channel, I think we have to get serious about this kind of topic. And I think that we have to take the time right now to really address like the things and the severity of everything that's going on with just everything, the social issues going around this world. So my take on it, if I could just get deep for a moment, go watch ESPN if you care about that. I'm not saying that in an insensitive way. Like, I'm not going to say what's right, what's wrong. Hey, I'm not going to give an opinion on that. Because this channel, I know that a lot of people don't want to be associated with like, oh, I don't watch football for like social issues or political issues or anything like that. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. Hey, sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes it could be a bad thing. I'm indifferent on everything. I have my own opinion, but I'm not going to share it because you want to know why? Because I'm here to talk about football, and I think you guys view this channel because you want to talk about football. Yeah, some stuff was said that was insensitive, but I'm not going to spend this whole entire segment bashing someone or saying that, hey, someone deserves to be fired. No, this channel is about football. And I'm only going to be talking about things that are related to football and a player's performance, a coach's performance, whatever. So if you want to get your, like, other people's opinions on, like, oh, was this right? Was this wrong? Whatever. Hey, I'm being unbiased here. Go watch ESPN. I think First Take is on right now, if you're watching this live. So Stephen A. Smith, first and foremost, I want to say that John Gruden I can't do a Stephen A. Smith impression. LeBron! But yes, I'm only going to be talking about football. So, as it pertains to football, John Gruden is no longer the head coach of the Raiders. And Rich Bisaccia, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Bisaccia is going to be the interim head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders for the time being. Special teams coordinator, apparently very well respected in the locker room. So we'll see how he does. But that's that. Okay, so John Gruden resigns. Clyde Edwards-Helaire suffered an MCL injury, and he's going to be out for a few weeks. So that means that Darrell Williams is going to be the hot commodity for you guys that play fantasy football. Hey, pick him up. I know people are saying, well, maybe Jerick McKinnon, maybe Darwin. It's going to be Darrell Williams that's going to get the majority of the touches. He's filled in nicely as a starting running back in the past whenever there's injuries that pertain to their starting running back. So Darrell Williams is the hot target. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, unfortunately, suffered an MCL injury, will be missing some time. Trey Lance, speaking of knee injuries, suffered a knee injury himself, and he's going to be missing some time. Now, we don't know how long that's going to pertain to be. We expect Jimmy Garoppolo to be healthy and ready to go after the San Francisco 49ers bye week in Week 7. So Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance had his audition, quote-unquote, and he wasn't necessarily bad, but they didn't win any football games. And Jimmy Garoppolo, Kyle Shanahan knows, gives them the best option and the best choice and the best route to win football games. So Garoppolo, if he's going to be healthy by the time Week 7 rolls around, he's going to be the starter. Trey Lance, going to miss some time. Rodrigo Blankenship, so a little bit of emotion that was happening last night between Blankenship and his own mind because he suffered an injury, and he missed a couple of kicks that ended up being very, very vital in the Colts losing that game. He suffered a hip injury, and he's going to be, we don't know his status, so we don't know if he's going to be missing some time or what it may be. But he did suffer that hip injury, so we'll see what happens from then on out. Rob Gronkowski is very close to returning to play this Thursday against the Philadelphia Eagles, so monitor that status. If you own him in fantasy football, Rob Gronkowski Thursday could be playing very close. The fact that if it's a Thursday game, kind of close. If it were being played on Sunday, then more than likely he would be returning, but right now it's very, very close. Kenny Golladay is expected to miss Week 6, Kadarius Toney season. Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard, Kenny Golladay, Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, dude. Giants have it rough. Kadarius Toney, the human joystick, has been looking great. Speaking of Kadarius Toney is not expected to be suspended. So he had a little bit of a cheap shot against the Dallas Cowboys towards the end of that game and was ejected. Was ejected from that game. But it looks like that Kadarius Toney will not be suspended, but he will be getting a fine, according to multiple sources. Quintez Cephas, the wide receiver for the Detroit Lions, broke his collarbone, and he could be placed on season-ending injured reserve. Unfortunately, had a good season. To this point, was I would say the number one receiver for the Detroit Lions. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown came on the scene, and now he's going to be a hot waiver wire ad. So while people are picking up Kadarius Toney, people are picking up maybe even Mecole Hardman off the waivers as well. People are going to overlook Amon-Ra St. Brown. 8 targets the last 2 games. Just write him down. Write him down. Tyrod Taylor not ready to return from IR just yet. He's eligible to be activated, but he's still suffering that or recovering from that hamstring injury. So we'll see what happens from then on out. And then the last little bit of news, Damian Harris is going to be quote-unquote okay from his chest injury. That's it. That's the only report. Ian Rappaport of NFL Network says Damian Harris is going to be okay. So I'm assuming that he plays in week 6. And that is NFL news and notes that's happening around the league. Let's just tune in real quick to see what's going to be happening, or what you guys are tuning in with the chat. People are you saying thank you for that whole ESPN spiel I just gave? Because you're welcome. You're welcome, dude. Emerald ESPN with the throwing up emoji. Hey, man, they made themselves a name. They very highly respected. Well, respect is debatable. Very highly successful network, ESPN. I respect them. I think that they do a very good job. I love Stephen A. Smith. I know people give him a lot of crap, but he's one of the hardest working guys in the broadcasting industry. So Stephen A. Smith is amazing. But I'm not going to get into any political stuff. Like, leave it. No. I'm here to unite people with football and fantasy football. And that's what we're going to be talking about right now. Fantasy football ads and drops that I talk about every Tuesday, because that's on your radar. Who should I add? Who should I drop off the waivers? Waivers are going to process tomorrow. Listen, for you guys that are tuning in right now into the show, I'm going to give you a little bit of a preview of our ads and drops video. Now, like I said before, I used to show the whole entire video, and then it got to a point where, like, making the graphics before 10 a.m., before we go live, it's just hard to do. So I only made a few graphics so far, but I made 3 players that you need to drop, 3 players that you need to add, the top 3. So I went ahead and focused in on that. I'm just going to be commentating over it and showing you 3 players that you would necessarily need to drop at this point. The first player, I'm going to go ahead and say that it is safe to drop this player from your fantasy football roster. Unfortunately, the breakout season and what we expected for Robert Tonyan has not been happening. So I'm going to go ahead and say that Robert Tonyan is a drop in fantasy football. It just hasn't not been working out. Only one game this year. One game where he had over 2 receptions. And it was only 3 receptions. 3 receptions for 52 yards and a touchdown. Besides that, Tonyan is not on the radar. Devontae Adams is eating up all the carries, or eating up all the touches in the receiving game. Aaron Jones is eating up all the carries. A.J. Dillon is working in there as well. Tonyan is just left high and dry, and if you want a player, a tight end to cut, to pick up another tight end, which we're going to mention a tight end in just a bit to add, Robert Tonyan, it's safe to go ahead and get rid of him. Owned in ESPN leagues, 65 to 70% of ESPN leagues, it's okay. You'll be fine. Get rid of Robert Tonyan. Let someone else deal with that headache. Player number 2 that you may need to think about dropping, and it's kind of sad to kind of consider this, but Cole Beasley, you got to drop him. And these are big-name players. Tonyan, Cole Beasley, why would you want to drop these players? Listen, Emmanuel Sanders came onto the scene. Dawson Knox also emerged. And it's winning them football games. And they look amazing. And I don't think they're going to stray away from that game plan. And Cole Beasley, unfortunately, has been the unfortunate beneficiary of lack of production because of Dawson Knox and Emmanuel Sanders being given that increased role. So, Knox is legit, the top 3 tight end in fantasy football. Emmanuel Sanders is legit. Offseason news stated that they were going to utilize him a lot, and it seems to be true. So Cole Beasley, after going 2 of his first 3 games with double-digit targets, last 2 games, only like 2 receptions each. Maybe even 2 targets each. I don't know. It's something ridiculous like that. So Cole Beasley, cut him. Last player, big-name player that you may want to drop in fantasy football. Owned in over 70% of leagues. But it's time. It's time that you need to move on. Kenyon Drake. He's not even the backup. Not even the handcuff for Josh Jacobs. That's Peyton Barber. So if you want to drop Kenyon Drake, if you're Josh Jacobs owner for Peyton Barber, do it, man. Do it. Kenyon Drake, listen, Rich Bisaccia might use Kenyon Drake a little bit more. We don't know yet. If you want to hold off for like another week or 2 to see how Kenyon Drake is utilized, sure. But I'd go ahead and drop him. I'm not going to go ahead and waste my time with that. Waiting a week would be smart, but I mean, after that, I don't have any high hopes for Kenyon Drake. That's pretty much what I'm saying. So those are three players, just a preview of who to drop in fantasy football. So now let's transition into the top three players that you want to add that are going to be in this ads and drops videos that's coming out later this afternoon. First, I'm going to show you the tight end that you may want to replace with Robert Tonyan. That is David Njoku. 7 receptions on 7 targets, 149 yards, 1 touchdown. Showed off his speed, rushing for a long touchdown. Hey, this is the second time this season that David Njoku has emerged as a potential top tight end in Cleveland over Austin Hooper. First time was in week 1 when he had 3 receptions for 75 yards. He got open on deep routes because he has that speed to break away. And then since then, he got to sizzle down, but he wasn't getting a lack of production per se. I mean, he got 3 targets in one game, I think 5 targets in another game, until he had this one breakout game against the LA Chargers. David Njoku, I think, is legit. Still young, and we've always talked about David Njoku being this fantasy football sleeper. It just hasn't panned out. Now's the time, I think, that Cleveland is going to lean in on David Njoku when they're already injured at the pass-catching game. Odell Beckham just hasn't been Odell Beckham of the past. David Njoku looks like the guy for Baker Mayfield. That's who I would add and replace, honestly, over Robert Tonyan at this point. The second player that I would add that I would really focus in on, it's going to have to be the player that I think is a top waiver wire ad, but not the top waiver wire ad for me personally. There's one more. I'm going to show you him later, but the second best waiver wire ad in my eyes, Kadarius Toney. Human joystick, like I mentioned, everybody's hurt. And he's going to have a sizable role moving forward because he already had this audition where he proved the last 2 weeks he is worthy of being a wide receiver 1 in New York. He's going to continue. But the thing is, I don't have him as a top waiver wire ad just because Mike Lennon is in. We don't know if Daniel Jones is going to miss some time. We don't know if how long Saquon Barkley is going to be out. Like, there's just a lot of injuries right now to that Giants team, and you could say, well, they got to lean in on Kadarius Toney. Yeah, but the defense could lean in on Kadarius Toney as well. So you just don't know what's going to happen in that category. So Kadarius Toney, yeah, he's an absolute must-add this week, but not my top waiver wire target. Actually, my top waiver wire target is a running back because running backs are so valuable. No, it's not Devontae Booker for the injured Saquon Barkley. It's not Ramondre Stevenson for Damian Harris. Not even Alex Collins for Chris Carson. It is Darrell Williams for the Kansas City Chiefs, for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think people are underestimating how talented Darrell Williams is. I mean, he has a role in this offense, even if Clyde Edwards-Helaire is healthy. That's how much stock the Chiefs put into Darrell Williams. That's how much they love him. Continue to make Darrell Williams a top waiver wire priority. Listen, if you're thin at wide receiver, stacked at running back, yeah, Kadarius Toney's the guy. And you can only add one player. But if you needed to add a running back more than anything, which most times than not, running backs are so valuable in fantasy football, Darrell Williams is my top target. So those are 3 players to drop, 3 players to add in fantasy football. I'm going to come out with the whole entire fantasy football video, ads and drops, that's only like 7 minutes long. More positions, more drops, more ads, and I'm going to give you like a list of. It's amazing if you haven't checked it out. Subscribe to this channel so you can stay tuned for that and check it out later on this afternoon. Now I'm going to get into players that you need to buy, sell, and hold in fantasy football. This is what we talk about every day or every week on Tuesday. Players that you need to buy, sell, and hold. One each for quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. Kickers and defense, people don't really trade them, so we're not going to talk about them. But with quarterbacks, quarterback buy low on Trey Lance. And I mean, when I say buy low, I mean really low. Really low. Because I'm not too confident that Trey Lance might work out at the end of the season. But what I got, the vibe that I got from the first 2 games that he started in his NFL career, or at least he played, is that he put up 20 fantasy points against, I believe it was in San Francisco. Who did he fill in? It wasn't NFC West. It was the Seattle Seahawks. Yes. So he put up 20 fantasy points against the Seattle Seahawks last week, and then the week after that, it was 14.5 fantasy points against the Arizona Cardinals, which isn't too bad for a rookie quarterback just making his first NFL start. I'd buy low on Trey Lance. And when I say buy low, dude, I mean, I'm talking about waiver wire trade for Trey Lance. Like, hey, I am going to pick up Rondell Moore off the waivers. I need a quarterback desperately. You need a wide receiver. Would you trade Trey Lance for Rondell Moore? That's what I would do, and just make Trey Lance like a little bit of a project. Wait and see. So if you're desperate at quarterback, maybe not Trey Lance. But if you're wanting a project for potentially towards the end of the season, if the 49ers are out of playoff contention and they want to give Trey Lance some reps, if Jimmy Garoppolo were to get hurt again, Trey Lance, I think it just because of his rushing numbers makes him a buy low candidate. So quarterback buy low, Trey Lance. Quarterback sell. Right now is the time to sell on Jameis Winston. Please do it. 2 amazing games this year and 2 overhyped ads for Jameis Winston off the waivers. I wouldn't do it. You know what happened last time when we added him after week 1? It was like 3 or 4 straight games. 3 games straight of like 13 or 14 fantasy points. Who's not to think that Jameis won't be going down that route again? Now, Michael Thomas is coming back, so maybe it'll be different. But that kind of inconsistency, I don't want to deal with it. Even when he has a great matchup, it's just too inconsistent. So Jameis Winston, I would try to sell him. Quarterback hold, Russell Wilson. Please don't do anything stupid. Hold on to Russell Wilson. 4 to 8 weeks is the timetable. You'll survive. You'll survive. There's some quarterbacks on the waiver wires you can pick up. I know Trevor Lawrence is on the waivers for some leagues. I know, Daniel Jones, when he's healthy, he'll be fine. So there's players that you could stream in the time being. Russell Wilson, don't do anything stupid. Don't trade him away just yet. Running back, buy Javonte Williams. Now's the time to buy in on Javonte Williams. That game against the Pittsburgh Steelers was probably the last game that he's going to have as where he struggles as much as he did. And he didn't even struggle. 8 carries for 41 yards is amazing. It's only going to go up from here. And he has an amazing matchup coming up against the Las Vegas Raiders. And he could pop off. So I would buy in on him right now while his value is just extremely low. This is probably the lowest amount of fantasy points that he's ever going to score. Maybe they're going to continue to fill in on Melvin Gordon being the starting running back. Maybe Gordon is going to continue to get those touches, but I don't think it's going to last for a while. I think Williams is eventually going to come in and be the running back 1, or it is showing that he's going to get the majority of the carries. I think there's been a couple games so far this year where Williams has gotten the majority of the carries over Melvin Gordon, so Javonte Williams is a buy low candidate. Sell Chuba Hubbard. This is where Christian McCaffrey coming back. Okay, so Chuba Hubbard, great game, 24 carries, over 100 yards. Proved that he can be a starting running back in the NFL when Christian McCaffrey is hurt. So if you have Chuba Hubbard and someone else owns Christian McCaffrey, just be like, hey, I will give you Chuba Hubbard because you need him to fill in for Christian McCaffrey. This is the exact same thing that I did last season. Last season, I ended up, what did I do? I picked up Cam Newton off the waivers. And then after Mike Davis had his whole string of games where he was amazing and the Christian McCaffrey was coming back, I went to the Mike Davis owner and I said, hey, Mike Davis is useless right now. Let me go ahead and get him. Why not? I'll trade you Cam Newton because you need a quarterback. He was like, okay. So I got a useless Mike Davis by trading away Cam Newton. And then with that Mike Davis trade, I used Mike Davis and I talked to the Christian McCaffrey owner. I said, hey, Christian McCaffrey's coming back, but he could get hurt. Do you want Mike Davis for someone that's not performing that well, like, I don't know, Cam Akers? And I traded Mike Davis to the CMC owner for Cam Akers. I had Cam Akers towards the end of the season when he popped off. It worked out beautifully for me. So please use that same kind of scenario when you're trying to trade Chuba Hubbard. Hold. And when I talk about players to hold, this is hold for now, but you might sell later. I just want to see how they're going to perform. So I'm not like totally buying in on them, but I just want to see. Myles Gaskin. I can't get a read on the Dolphins offense. I think that the Dolphins realize that they need to utilize Myles Gaskin more. So I believe that he's going to have a good game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think he's going to get a lot of carries, sure. but it's the Miami Dolphins. So I'm still trying to. That's why he's just a hold right now. I'm not saying like buy in on Myles Gaskin. Obviously, don't sell him right now, but just kind of hold. Just wait and see on Myles Gaskin. Wide receivers, buy low on Calvin Ridley. Double-digit targets in the last 3 games that he's played. There are people that are frustrated with Calvin Ridley. This was a high draft pick for me. He's been out. He's been injured. Hasn't been producing. Where's the end zone for Calvin Ridley? This is not what I drafted Ridley to be. Hey, this is where you come in and be like, Calvin Ridley, trade? Come on. So if you need a wide receiver, I would buy low on Calvin Ridley. Sell. Robert Woods. Oh, I know people aren't going to like that. People have not liked that. For the longest time, I've been saying, get rid of Robert Woods. Don't even draft Robert Woods. And hey, the first 4 weeks of the season said, yeah, you shouldn't have drafted Robert Woods, until he came out and said, hey, I'm not happy with the lack of targets. I want more targets. And Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay said, okay, yeah, you are going to get utilized more in the game plan. You deserve it. Like, he's a talented player. I'm not doubting that. Just by the game flow and the game script and how this team operates, it's Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp that's going to get the majority of the touches and the targets. Robert Woods, he had to get force-fed targets. Had to come out and say, hey, I want to be featured more. I want to be featured more. And they forced the ball to him in that game against the Seattle Seahawks. Do they have to force him the ball every single time? Or are they going to go back to what's been winning them football games? Now, they beat the Seattle Seahawks, yes. But are you going to just naturally gravitate towards what's winning you games beforehand and what's been making you look amazing? Or you can just have this subconscious thought in your head like, oh, I got to keep feeding it to Robert Woods. Keep feeding it to Woods. Keep feeding. I don't want to deal with that. So while he had an amazing game, sell on Robert Woods. Now is the time. Hold. Player that you want to hold, so not sell just yet. I just want to see how he works out. Deontay Johnson. And I love Deontay Johnson now because Juju Smith-Schuster is going to be out for the rest of the year. Chase Claypool, I love him too. So keep those Pittsburgh wide receivers, even though the Steelers offense with Ben Roethlisberger has not been looking the best. I mean, against the Denver Broncos, it kind of turned around. But the lack of receptions for Deontay Johnson has some people questioning, should I trade away Deontay Johnson? No. Hold on to Deontay Johnson. He'll be good wide receivers. And then tight ends, buy low on George Kittle. I mean, that's pretty obvious right now. Just kind of, he's hurt. He's banged up. Got to buy low on George Kittle. Sell Hunter Henry. I don't think Hunter Henry is going to be bad. 6 receptions, 75 yards and a touchdown. Obviously, that's, okay, yeah, amazing. But he's going to have to, this Patriots offense is not designed for Hunter Henry to be the featured tight end one. It's Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith. They might be running the ball. Mac Jones is still kind of getting into the swing of things of the passing game. So sell on Hunter Henry if you can right now. If you want to keep him because the tight ends are so thin, sure. But if you're good at tight end, sell Hunter Henry while his value is high. And then hold. He went from being a buy low to a hold. So that's not the right step. But TJ Hawkinson is a hold for now. I'm high on him. I've been high on him. I think he's going to turn things around, especially with Quentin Cephas being out for the rest of the season. I think that Hawkinson is going to turn things around, but I'm just going to wait and see. So those are buy lows, sell highs, and players to hold for fantasy football. Leave a comment, leave your thoughts down below. Who do you guys have as far as that goes? All right, let's talk about fantasy football questions that you guys are leaving in the chat. Oh, we got 53 of you guys joining us, so I appreciate you guys joining us for this episode of Time to Football. Listen, let's talk about some questions and answer some while I can. Ooh, I already met the 30-minute mark. I don't care. I'll take a few minutes to answer this. Emerald says, I have Lamar and Andrews. Oh my gosh, dude. Please tell me you won. Big Dog Pound, hi T2F. What's up, dude? Is Hollywood Brown and Myles Gaskin a must start every week? You know, Hollywood Brown is getting to that point. He's getting to that point. Myles Gaskin, it's a little bit of an overreaction right now to say that he's a must start every week. Little preview, spoiler alert for the starts and sits video. I do have Myles Gaskin as a start against the Las Vegas Raiders, the Jacksonville Jaguars in London. So, yes, for now, but Hollywood Brown is more so trending in the direction. Gaskin, let's just wait and see because I don't trust the Dolphins offense just yet. They're a little sus, so let's see. Uh, Jared Cook or Ricky Seals-Jones at tight end. This is from Adam. I'm going to go with Jared Cook in this aspect. I know that it hasn't been looking bleak. I'm not too high on either one, but Jared Cook would be my option out of those. What else do we got? Hey, bud. Hey, Emerald. How you doing? Fire up. Darnell Mooney this week. This is from H. Gruel. Oh. Justin Fields being the starter moving forward has been hurt in the passing game for sure. But he has been targeting Mooney a little bit. I mean, I think he's a little bit of a flex play this week in like a 12-team league. It's hard. It's hard. If you're that guy that has Deebo Samuel, Calvin Ridley, whoever it may be on a bye week, sure. Like I'm okay with starting Darnell Mooney. Aftershock Value says Andrews and Lamar remind me of Cam and Greg. Ooh, good comparison, man. Good comparison. Zach Olette. I have Tunyon. Should I drop him for Hunter Henry? Yes. I'm not confident. And I hate saying to drop Robert Tunyon, but I mean, I'm not. He's had less than 2 fantasy points, half PPR fantasy points in every game but one. But one game this year. I can't afford to lose any more weeks because of that. You can't do it. Got to get rid of Robert Tunyon. Hunter Henry would be a better option. Trade Henderson and Keenan Allen for Swift and Diggs. Ooh. I'd say that's kind of like an even trade. I love Henderson, the amount of work and the amount of snaps that he's available on offense. And I think Keenan Allen is eventually going to turn it around. And I would consider him to be kind of the same, maybe just like a tier below Stephon Diggs. I think it just comes to personal preference. And I would just base it off the schedule too. Look at the fantasy football playoff schedule. I haven't had a chance to look at the Rams, Chargers, Lions, and Bills schedule just yet. But if it's very favorable, like if one side is more favorable than the other, then that would be the breaking point for me personally. If like I'm 5-0, 4-1, whatever, like I'm expected to make the playoffs, sure. But yeah, look at their playoff schedule and then go from there. Is Booker or Williams better? Talking about Devontae Booker or Darrell Williams. Darrell Williams is better. People are going to hone in on Devontae Booker because Saquon Barkley, the bigger name. Saquon Barkley's injury was shown on TV, the massive grapefruit size ankle. People are going to hone in on Devontae Booker because he had a 2-touchdown game. But Darrell Williams, if you want to talk about who's better in a better offense, Williams. And who has more faith in who? The Chiefs have more faith in Darrell Williams, I feel like, than the Giants have in Devontae Booker. So, I'm targeting Darrell Williams. I would target Darrell Williams. Jeremy, someone dropped Gaskin in my 12-team league. Do you expect him to continue this kind of production, or will he fall back off on what he was doing the past 4 weeks prior? I think this week is a telling sign. I really do. I think that Gaskin has a great week this week against Jacksonville. And I think from that point forward, the Dolphins are going to realize, yeah, what were we doing? Trying to incorporate Malcolm Brown and Salvon Ahmed into the mix. I think Gaskin he's the most talented back. If we're going to continue to win football games, it's got to be Gaskin. Because they need something to change on offense, and Gaskin gave him a little bit of a spark last week. So I think it's going to continue. I don't think it's going to be the production of like 31 PPR fantasy points, but it's going to continue. Good morning. I'm so hurt at RBs right now between Damian Harris and Chris McCaffrey. CHB says that. Yeah, dude, I know. It's tough out there. I have David Montgomery in my league. Fortunately, I have Damian Williams as well. But, I mean, Khalil Herbert's I don't know. It's tough for you guys that own Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Joe Mixon, Chris Carson, Saquon Barkley. It's tough. Aloha, y'all. How you doing, Rob? Should I pick up Kadarius Toney or Devontae Booker? This is by Rainbow Dash Fan 26. It just depends on what position you need, man. Wide receiver is just extremely deep that I'm okay with passing up by Kadarius Toney if I need to get Devontae Booker. If I'm thin at running back, like if I'm starting, I don't know, man. If your RB1 is Devin Singletary, which that was the case for me last year. Terrible season. Because so many injuries. Then, yeah, you got to pick up Devontae Booker. Uh, Zach, I'll let you asked about Tunyon for Hunter Henry or Dan Arnold. Tunyon for Hunter Henry would be my option. Dan Arnold, I'm still trying to get a feel for him. He had 8 targets. Arnold did, which is great. But James O'Shaughnessy also had 8 targets for the Jacksonville Jaguars in Week 1. So I'm like, I don't know if I can trust that just yet. So I would rather trust Hunter Henry. Is Ayuk a drop? Brandon Ayuk, is he a drop? I don't want to do it, man. I don't want to do it. If I have to, sure. But if not, I wouldn't want to do it just yet. Dalton Schultz or Gronk for Week 6. This is by Daniel Orton. I have not had a chance to look at the schedule and like make the start and sits fully just yet. So I can't really dive into that. But my mind tells me Gronk if he's good to go. But hey, I mean, you'll get your answer by Thursday because it is a very short week. Uzi, should I drop Fant for Hunter Henry and Standard? No. Keep Noah Fant. And if you have Noah Fant on your fantasy football team and don't know a name to come up with, please rename your fantasy football team Only Fants. Only Fants. Oh, we are running really, really long. Okay, let me just skip around a little bit and answer some questions. Ice Cold Jones, you've been a loyal viewer for some time. Someone wants Nick Chubb in exchange for Melvin Gordon and Kelsey. Should I do it? Also, Jamal Williams, Sony Michel, and Tim Patrick in the flex. Okay, so to answer your Williams, Michel, Tim Patrick, I haven't had a chance to look at the starts and sits just yet. So ask that question again on a live show, whether it be tomorrow or leave a comment in the Fantasy Football Starts and Sits video. But to answer your first question, someone wants Nick Chubb in exchange for Melvin Gordon and Kelsey. Should I do it? Who's your tight end? Because if you're starting like Tunyon, sure. But I wouldn't do it personally. Like, even if I had Tunyon as my tight end. I mean, tight ends, everybody's weak at the position. Everybody's suffering except like 5 people. So, I mean, you're in the same boat as everyone else. You're essentially at that point giving up an RB1 for a guy that's going to lose his job by the end of the season. So personally, I wouldn't do it, but hey, I mean, if you really want Travis Kelce, really love Kelsey, I mean, it's up to you, but I wouldn't do it. Let's see, what else you got? You guys are chiming in. You guys are helping each other out as well, so I love that. Hey, this is community. We help each other out. We've reached 40 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and answer just one more, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut it off. Greetings from Germany. Keep up the great work. Thanks, Robin. Appreciate that. Gosh. Who needs some help? Haz Idris. Who should I try to get for Gibson? So you're trying to trade away Antonio Gibson? And who you want out of that? I would do a package deal for Antonio Gibson. So if you want to take a little bit of a step down and go from like Gibson for Chase Edmonds and someone else, like another position that you need, I would do that. I personally would keep Antonio Gibson. I think he's going to have a second half blowout, just amazing season. Personally, I mean, he got the touches last week against a tough New Orleans Saints defense. He only averaged 3 yards a carry, but it's still like 2 touchdowns. And he made it look easy on the goal line with those touchdowns. So I would keep Gibson personally, but if you want to trade for like Gibson for Chase Edmonds and someone else, or Josh Jacobs and someone else, like make sure you have a running back at least that you're getting out of the trade that is a viable starter. Isn't the best starter of fantasy football, but is at least a viable starter. So that's what I would do. A 2-for-1 kind of trade. All right, I'm going to go ahead and cut this off. Hey, I appreciate you guys joining us for this episode of Time2Football. Continue to leave your comments in the ads and drops and the starts and sets videos that we're going to be coming out with later on. Ads and drops are going to be coming out in probably in the next couple of hours. Trade targets as well, the video I just talked about right now. We're going to split that up and come out with it later this day. And then starts and sits tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. That's going to be the new time for starts and sits. With all that said, thank you guys so much for watching this episode. And remember, just watch ESPN.